If I had to choose which OS, I would definitely go with Linux. But I know a lot of you who's coming into the tech industry don't really know how to set up Linux on a computer. So here is my take on why should you go with Windows over Mac, or why you should go with Mac over Windows. And I'm going to give my very honest opinion. On my left, I have the Windows Surface Book. On my right, I have the MacBook Pro. Based on my experience building website, working with different OSs, working with different apps, my go-to laptop all the time will be Windows. And here are the reasons why I say to go with a Windows laptop. Most of the software development software or the software development programs comes from Microsoft. Microsoft worked on Windows base. So obviously they would tailor their product to Windows computer. Can you get it on Mac? Yes. For example, if you open Microsoft Word on a Mac and Microsoft Word on a Windows, the experience will be a little bit different. Windows, you will get a much smoother Word. You will get better performance with any of the Microsoft suite. Excel is one of the greatest examples. You will get a better experience working with Excel on a Windows computer versus a Mac. So for example, Excel on a Mac, you are limited to the range of data connections. You can only connect to ODBC SQL, HTML, text, and database. However, on Windows, you can connect to web, table range, access, ODBC SQL, PDF, JSON, XML, and more. Unlike for Windows, the quick access toolbar in Excel for Mac cannot be imported or exported. Forms control does not work so well on Mac. Another thing that is big in data analysis is the pivot table, and unfortunately Power Pivot is not a feature that is available in Excel for Mac. Excel or the Microsoft suite will always prioritize the products for Windows first before they do any configuration for the Mac. So that's their selling point for a Windows computer. But that's not the reason why I would say choose a Windows over Mac just to use the Microsoft suite. I'm talking about the Microsoft development programs. So for example, the whole .NET framework, running virtual machines on AWS or Azure, it can get really complicated on a Mac, or it doesn't really run at all. Also, if you're going into data analysis, Microsoft SQL Server is a very, very powerful free tool that you can use to practice SQL, or like create tables, drop tables, run some SQL queries. And that does not work on a Apple computer. Another great application from Microsoft that is incompatible on a Mac OS is the Power BI app. And the Power BI app is used by data analysis to visualize data. On the new M1 chips, you don't really have the advantage anymore to partition your Mac computer to run Windows. So if you're coming into tech and your thing is creating Apple apps or iPhone apps for the whole Apple ecosystem, then yes, I will not advocate to run Mac on the cloud. Mac on the cloud is really slow. So you have some limitations when it comes to some of the Microsoft programs for development. I know a program that I love using so much, Visual Studio. It does not work on a Mac computer. I don't know if they did an update for 2024 and it can work, but I don't think I would enjoy the experience using Visual Studio on the Mac whenever Microsoft decide to make it more opened up to the Mac environment. If I had to choose which OS, I would definitely go with Linux. But I know a lot of you who's coming into the tech environment or the tech industry don't really know how to set up Linux on a computer or on any environment. So I would usually go with a Mac to get that Linux feel or that Unix feel, because I'm teaching beginner to advanced programming, especially on the Linux side. Now, when it comes to Windows, almost every programming software or program works amazing on a Windows computer. The only thing you cannot get is Xcode, which is kind of obvious because Xcode is designed to create only Apple products. But if you're not going into the Apple side like Xcode, Ruby on Rails, then Windows will be the best option for you to choose. Another thing that I always recommend Windows for, when you are downloading any type of programs or software on your computer, it's a lot more easier to get it to work on a Windows computer, whereas on a Mac computer, you have to do some type of configuration in the terminal to get your program to work properly. The Windows drivers, I would always love it. I'm using Windows 11 Pro and it's amazing. It's smooth. I get everything done. I don't even have to do any type of configuration when I'm downloading any software on this Windows computer. If you are downloading, let's say, for example, Postgres, you can download it on a Mac, but you have to go through extra step in the terminal. For example, the DVD rental file that comes in Postgres, you have to turn that file into a tar file using the terminal, whereas Windows, you just have to just download the file and extract it. As I said before, you cannot partition your computer anymore to run the virtual or to run Windows. So you have to either get a Mac or a Windows computer for now. Now, if you want to get a little bit deeper into which Windows computer should you get, any Windows computer works perfectly fine. What you have to keep in mind is the RAM. When it comes to buying computers for a techie, 8 gigs of RAM is not enough. Based on my experience again, and based on things that most of the people in tech does, for example, you may open up several windows at the same time or several programs at the same time. If you going into you want to do a little bit of content creation like myself in tech, you would need to run some type of editing software. And once you open all of that up at the same time, your computer would slow down gradually with 8 GBs of RAM. So try to stay above 8 GB. So 16 GB is fine, 32 GB, 64 GB, that's an overkill for me. So 16 GB is just perfect for you. When it comes to space, never spend money on space on a computer. Always save your work on the cloud or get an external hard drive or external storage. When you save stuff on your computer, you're looking to get into type of accidents. A couple years back, I had experienced losing all of my work on my computer. From then, it's on the cloud or external storage for me after that. So when you are when you're looking to buy a computer, the smallest storage is fine. Just invest in external storage and on the cloud. I'm using Google Drive right now, and Google Drive I'm paying about $4 Canadian per month for 100 gigs of storage. So that is, I don't need anything more than that, and I can access my stuff online and I can do whatever I do from anywhere. Also, I bought an external hard drive, so I have a copy save on the cloud and I have a copy save on my external hard drive. So I will not, 250 gigs of RAM is just perfectly fine for me. The only thing that I save on my computer are the programs. I don't like using programs from a hard drive. So my thing is, you spend a couple $100 on a computer. After 4 or 5 years, if your computer is not compatible with the OS, then you get rid of it, right? For me personally, I don't really like working on older OS. I always want to keep my system updated with the latest OS. So once my computer cannot take the latest OS anymore, it's a sign for me to get rid of it and get something new. So try to stay on the budget if you can. If I have to recommend, I would say either the Microsoft Surface laptops. Those computers go for a cheap, very, very cheap price right now, especially refurbished. And also I like using the HP Envoy or the HP 360. I love those computers. They're very strong and they can handle workload really, really well. If you want to get a little bit cheaper, Lenovo's ThinkPad are perfectly fine as well. So that's all for today's video. Hope I answered the questions that you asked, and see you in the next video.